All right, ladies and gentlemen, G20, 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 and G. I wish I was at that meeting coming up with Vladimir Putin and our president. So what do you think happens there?
Well, they've got a lot of critical issues that they've got to discuss, obviously. And the G20 summit was designed and built to take up things like global economic growth, international trade, and recognizing each other's financial situations, how they treat their currency and how they use their currency. Nowadays, though, the most important issues have become things like North Korea. And at this summit, that will be the number one topic. Contrary to Germany's expectations, because the top priority for Angela Merkel is the climate change and the Paris Accord that was developed in 2015. The issue there, of course, is maintaining or monitoring the temperatures so that they're no more than they're less than 2 degrees Celsius prior to industrial times, whatever it was industrial.
But here's how she continues to push the envelope, quoting her now, Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany. We cannot wait until every last person on earth has been convinced of the scientific proof. Well, by then, my great-grandchildren will probably be roaming the earth. It's now, it's immediate. Without any present, there is no future. Why don't they understand that?
Well, there's no question that it's going to take some time to prove to everybody, and you're probably right. It's going to be your grandchildren and great-grandchildren that will probably have the benefits, if there are any benefits to be received as a result of it. They still don't, in my opinion, I don't think that they understand completely what is causing climate change. Certainly, carbon emissions are at the center of their thinking these days. And in order to control those carbon emissions, that's exactly what they want to do, by the way, is control carbon emissions and sell credits to high developers of carbon emissions, so that the EPA probably would be the administrator of that kind of a process. And then if you exceeded your credits for carbon emissions, then you would have to go out and buy carbon credits from some other facility that underused their carbon emissions. What it would be is another monumental bureaucracy that would take up tons of government employees, tons of government money, and just be another mess that we'd have our hands out of Washington, D.C.
We talked a little bit about Dave Pascal. We're at Alex Sebastian Jr.'s Thursday. Don't forget the Clarks will be here August 5th. They have a great lunch and dinner menu. Don't miss it, ladies and gentlemen. And truly the place to hang out on the weekends. Been here since 1981, but it has never, ever looked so good and such a promising future. I want to talk to you about trade. We talked about it a little bit last time with Alex, but NAFTA. This is the president now. Saving the trade deal has unfairly robbed American jobs. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, it's very fair. Very fair, because if you really do the research on North American Free Trade Agreement, you would find that it has cost tens of thousands of jobs in this country, gone to Mexico and to Canada, of course. And for those jobs to be replaced, it's going to take an awful long time for an industrial buildup in this country to bring some of those jobs back into the United States. So I think to make that kind of a statement, yes, it's more than fair, and I think probably that's going to get worse, a lot worse, before it gets better.
All right, immigration. He wants to stop people from Muslim countries pouring into this country. The travel ban, he got a bit of a reprieve there. I do like one of the things that Vladimir Putin said. Muslims in our country are Russians. Why can't we all, as the immigrants who came here over 100 years ago, whether they be Italian, whether they be Irish, whether they be from any place in the world, eventually all become American?
Well, with what's going on, not only in this country, but
terrorism
in the Middle East, the terrorism that's been sparked by primarily countries in the Middle East, especially countries like Yemen, Iran, Iraq. Something has to be done. Travel ban is probably good as long as they proceed with it in an orderly manner, and don't go overboard with the way they handle incoming immigrants.
One of the things that the U.S. and Russia agree upon, that there are forces in Syria to fight ISIS. But you know what? The problem is going about finding and uniting with those forces. We both have a completely different outlook on how we look at Syria. How much of a key to the Middle East, and going back to that commodity that is oil, because it's much more than just Saudi Arabia, a neighbor and friend of the United States, is Syria to the rest of the world, and in particular to us? And why do you think they'll be talking so much about Syria at the G20 summit?
Well, I think it's such a hot spot in the world, and there's so much contentiousness between Russia and the United States over that country. It really has us retreating back to Cold War status with Russia if we don't soon agree on how we're going to handle the Syrian situation.
2% of the gross domestic product, talking about defense, talking about NATO. Being that you're a man from the steel industry, explain why this is good business, not just money that makes sense, but also common sense in keeping your nation strong.
Well, you know, we've talked before about the demise of the steel industry in this country, and it looks as though in the foreseeable future we're not going to see much of a rebuild in the steel industry in this country. Sad thing about that is that we are importing much more steel into this country from countries like Japan, China, primarily China, of course, that they come into this country, and here's the thing, their governments support their steel industry. And that's nice because they can continue to produce and increase productivity and take that excess of production that they have, ship it out to this country, export it to this country, to other countries as well, and do it at below market prices.
Here's what I'd like to see. We need to start producing more steel in this country. And I think of places within a stone's throw from where we're at. The former site of LTD J&L Steel, 8 miles right along the Ohio River, which is now pristine thanks to the millions of his own money that Chuck Better's invested. We have places that are ready to start manufacturing again and even making steel. So are you telling me part of the reason why the steel industry had a demise is because union got the upper hand when management had it for many years, and then management started to pay unions too much money and they weren't putting money back into their plants, and then in the end, when we really needed their support, the government did not back the steel industry. Is that the trifecta?
Well, I think so. I think that had a lot to do with part of the demise of the steel industry. We put demands were made by the unions. Companies accepted those demands, and the first thing you know, we've got more money in union contracts and environmental controls than we have in productive equipment. And that was the beginning of the end. We had, going back into the 50s and 60s, 13 weeks vacation. That was never a good idea.
My dad said to me many years ago, true story, he said that would be the eventual demise of manufacturing in this nation.
It certainly helped. One of the factors that certainly helped. But we lost the bulk of our steel industry producing in this country. Not many blast furnaces and basic oxygen furnaces around where we make the basic steel. Those are few and far between these days. And you ask, when are we going to get back to that? Well, that's a big capital-intensive industry. It takes a lot of money.
But you got to spend money to make money. And I've mentioned people, not just tonight, but many times, who have done that and have done everything to get jobs back to this region. And we see that now with Royal Dutch Shell. And let me say this, union labor is the only way to go. And today on their Facebook page, the Keystone Mountain Lake Regional Council of Carpenters are actually telling people to go to their website because they are now posting jobs for this cracker plant. Now is the time to actually go to work, but you got to protect what you have. And let's finish on this note.
We'll never get back to productive capacity, even with new steel mills. We won't do that until we exercise the terms of our import and export policies.
Okay,
that's a must. We have to.
You have to clean that up first.
Absolutely. We have the documents in place. We just don't exercise.
Kim Jong-un, though, the man in North Korea, is screwing all of that up because his swagger has turned into really push comes to shove. And I think it's time that we have to shove him back. Russia, China, they'll be talking about this at the G20. They want more sanctions. The president's like, look, my patience is worn thin. Today, trending, they would consider military action. I don't want to see anybody going to war. I've got 3 children, okay? But you can't let this man keep doing this, because sooner or later, what's going to happen? One of those missiles that has now, the latest, traveled, 1,741 miles altitude, 578 miles distance. What does that mean? Maybe the next one's actually going to get even closer, and then eventually they're going to end up maybe in Japan or someplace and kill millions of people. How much more do we let him get away with?
Well, we can't do a lot about this until China does what we've asked them to do, and that's rein in North Korea, limit their ability to make nuclear weapons and to continue to increase their ability to fire those missiles intercontinentally. That can't happen without Russia's involvement in the activities of North Korea, and they need to do that. And Russia or China right now is furious with the United States because we just have agreed to a $1.8 million arms sale to Taiwan. You know, China and Taiwan have been at it.
But here's what you have to realize. China needs some of these people. If they don't want to do it for the humanitarian aspect, and I got to believe they have a heart too, then they better think about business, because we are one of their biggest clients, okay? We owe them a lot of money, so it's good business to do the right thing. And ladies and gentlemen, the right thing is to tune in to me tomorrow for Mike Pintek, because more on the G20 summit. Listen to this lineup now. Bill Green, our political analyst, will join me in the 12 o'clock hour to make sense of all of this politically, and especially why is so much riding on the Republicans, and this is their quarterback, and why they should really be thinking about supporting him. And then Dr. Terry Madonna, polling center Franklin and Marshall, everything A to Z about the G20 politically coming back. How does he use it to his advantage? And for all of those people in Washington who've tried to stop him, how the Trump train may be coming back from Europe with a whole lot of steam. And John Delano, the money editor and political analyst from KDK TV2, is confirmed he will join me in the 2 o'clock hour. So it is business, whether you like it or not, this G20, and it's big business. Now for Dave Pasquale, I'm Rob Pratt. Thanks to Alex, Sebastian Jr., and Seth for shooting this tonight on the Samsung Galaxy phone. Am I done finally for the day?
You are done.
I am done. That's a wrap. Good night from the beautiful banks of the Beaver, Ohio River.